everyone, welcome and welcome back. My name's Diana. This is my channel Bookish Di, and today we are talking about how Illumicrate decided to say fuck you to the community it's built. So what do I mean by this? So for folks who are blissfully unaware, approximately 1 month ago on April 16th, Illumicrate announced its special edition of Julie Soto's novel Rose in Chains. For folks, again, who are blissfully unaware, Rose in Chains is Julie Soto's romantasy debut, and it is a serial numbers filed off version of her popular Draco Hermione fan fiction, The Auction. The Auction is about what happens if Voldemort wins and Hermione is sold into sexual slavery, but don't worry, Draco is a nice Nazi. I mean, Death Eater, he's not a Nazi. You know, Death Eaters totally not Nazis or fascist or whatever. So she's sold, but he's a nice slave owner, and it gets to the point at the end where she defends him and the Malfoys against the Order of the Phoenix because they're being mean and putting them on trial. And anyway, we're not here to litigate that story. What we're here to talk about is the fact that Illumicrate decided to create a special edition of this book. And this is problematic for several reasons, and how Illumicrate acted in response to this is also severely telling of where they are as an organization. So let's go back from the beginning. Let's go back and we'll set the scene and we'll talk about what happened, how Illumicrate fucked this up, and why at this point I no longer feel comfortable buying from them, or at least supporting them, and why I think you all should let them know what you think. So for some backstory, let's go with the Illumicrate angle first. So Illumicrate is a book subscription box based in the United Kingdom. They started in 2015 doing quarterly books, and then they started moving to doing books every month. They initially did a mix of science fiction and fantasy, a mix of adult and young adult. They've created several sub boxes. So Afterlight is their romance primary sub. Starbright is their new science fiction specific sub, and Evernight is their horror sub. But I'm mainly focusing on their main sub today for several reasons. One, it's the one that shares the name with the company. Two, it's the one that's been around the longest. And three, it's the one I think that has the most influence in the field. There are other book subscription boxes. I will be touching briefly on Fairy Loot later on because Fairy Loot is a part of this problem as well. But yeah, so that's Illumicrate in a nutshell. In 2020, Illumicrate made several pronouncements about what they would and wouldn't include in its box. The first is that they wouldn't include an author who had engaged in misogynistic behavior. Totally fair, totally fine. The second was that after J.K. Rowling went mask off with her transphobia in the summer of 2020, Illumicrate made a tweet that said, "We want to make it clear that we neither agree nor condone J.K. Rowling's views, and in light of this, we no longer feel comfortable including Harry Potter-related items in our boxes." Because in addition to books, if you get the full box, you get assortment of items every month. So people applauded that. A lot of people were like, you know, Illumicrate is standing behind its values. It's a company that we want to support. It's a company that we think is friendly to the queer community. And Illumicrate has, you know, offered its books up to auction for causes like the queer community, like supporting Palestinians in Gaza. And they have really built themselves up as being this box that is progressive, that supports the queer community, champions BIPOC authors, which made their decision to do Rose in Chains particularly disappointing. So late last year in 2024, there had been speculation that Illumicrate was going to be doing The Irresistible Urge to Fall for Your Enemy by Brigitte Knightley. This is the book that is supposedly original fiction that the author wrote once she signed with her agent, Thao Lee, that, you know, while Hermione fans will like it, it's its own thing. And people in the Illumicrate Discord were naturally uncomfortable because even though it's supposedly its own thing, it's still being marketed towards fans of the ship. It's still tying into the author's popular fan fiction, Draco Malfoy, and the mortifying ordeal of falling in love. Like, the titles are very similar. Like, and there was a lot of confusion about the fact that people do think it's a pro-pub version of the mortifying ordeal of falling in love. So people were not particularly happy about that, but it kind of died down. Then on April 16th, Illumicrate made its announcement that it was going to be doing a special edition of Rose in Chains. They specifically chose artists who are prominent in the Draco Hermione fan community. They created this art for the cover, and I'll be talking a little bit about why the art is actually really bad and kind of speaks to some larger problems within Illumicrate. Also on April 16th, the UK Supreme Court issued a ruling in a case regarding challenging the Equality Act, defining what a woman is. This ruling ruled that trans women are not women, that lesbians do not include trans women, which is really fucked up. And this case was funded in large part by J.K. Rowling to the tune of £70,000, which is roughly 90 some odd US dollars. She posted on Twitter a picture of her smoking a cigar celebrating the ruling with the phrase, "I love when a plan comes together." This ruling happened several hours before the Illumicrate announcement. No one from Illumicrate seems to have the sense God gave a goose to delay the announcement. Instead, they went full steam ahead, announced it, and that's where shit really devolved. So before I get into why this is problematic, like I said, I do want to talk a little bit about what happened behind the scenes with Illumicrate. So Illumicrate has a Discord server, and they have a channel called Announcement Debrief where people can talk about things that are announced. It's normally, you know, oh my God, I'm so excited, I love this art. I think in the past that's where the discussion of, hey, I think the art that you're including here is AI, which has happened a couple of times, which is kind of embarrassing for them. So this channel is normally functioning like any other Discord channel. Prior to the announcement of Rose in Chains, they turned on slow mode, which means that you can't just like send message after send message after send message. There is a delay on when you can send messages. And in another Discord server I'm in, slow mode is enabled for kind of a daily news channel, so that it's not a channel that's designed for us to be yappers. We have multiple other channels for us to yap, but it's designed to just kind of summarize what's been going on that people might want to talk about or might want to catch up on. In this case, it's very clear that slow mode was turned on because Illumicrate was expecting people to not be happy. And people weren't happy, me included. The conversation devolved because people were pointing out that, hey, this not only goes against Illumicrate's statement that they won't include anything Harry Potter related, it goes against Rule 13 in their server, which is no discussions of Harry Potter and no discussions of J.K. Rowling. The discussion turned to some other troubling aspects, such as the fact that in 2025, Illumicrate will have put out 2 Harry Potter-related books and no trans authors, kind of the lack of racial diversity in terms of very few Black authors being centered, but like I said, it devolved. It got to the point on Thursday, April 17th, where Illumicrate still hadn't made a statement. A friend pinged the mods because the mods were not doing their jobs. And the staff of Illumicrate decided to close the server so they could have a restful 4-day Easter weekend. Still no statement. Still no acknowledgement of harm. So they had their peaceful 4-day weekend. I was really mad. I wrote 1,000 words about why this decision sucked and why Illumicrate's silence was particularly troublesome. Tuesday, April 22nd, the server opens. And when the server opened, Caitlin, who is the Illumicrate Chief Operating Officer / Head of Communications, said, "The Illumicrate team will not be making a statement with regards to the decision to create an edition of Rose in Chains or any other books that are reworked Harry Potter fanfiction or are written by authors who have previously written Harry Potter fanfiction, but we have seen your feedback and have taken it on board as always, and you are welcome to email your thoughts to the support team if you wish. In regard to the comments / questions about the server rule 13, that's the rule about HPJKR, we don't think the rules in a community space should be taken as a reflection or extension of Illumicrate's business strategy or the views of the members of the team. We previously offered a dedicated thread for discussion of these books for those who wish to discuss them, to keep the main server rule compliant. This was shot down as people felt they had the right to discuss Illumicrate's decision to do editions of these books in an open forum." No one liked this statement. Caitlin deleted this statement after being called out over the fact that this did not address concerns, that it was incredibly dismissive of what people were saying, and just the fact that it was incredibly tone deaf, that it's a bad statement. It's a bad statement on so many levels. I will admit I did get very frustrated and very angry. I said, I do regret giving, this makes me sad. I'm angry that I supported this, and I regret giving you money, which was, I'm pretty sure was interpreted as Caitlin when I meant Illumicrate. So I will own up to the fact that I did get heated. It devolved there because, again, people were upset that Illumicrate was not listening to their concerns about the fact that this inclusion of Rose in Chains in a way that specifically invokes the original fan fiction, that their concerns were not being heard, that there was no acknowledgement of harm, and that the team was just acting as if nothing changed. Oh, but don't worry, they did give a set of their Alana the Lioness books to an auction for trans rights without talking about why they were doing it in the first place. The conversation devolved again. There was a person who was falsely accusing others of calling her transphobic. Anyway, it got to the point where Caitlin said, "Stop typing," and the server closed again. Things were quiet Wednesday, and then on Thursday, April 24th, a little after 2 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. British Standard Time, I was banned from the server along with others who had vocally disagreed with Illumicrate's decision. This is after several people had also left the server because they no longer viewed it as a safe place due to Illumicrate's failure to address concerns, the multiple failures of the moderating team, and the fact that Caitlin's first instinct was to try and be like, "This is your problem, not ours." Anyway, I still have not gotten an answer as to why I was banned. I'm just told that I broke certain rules and it was retroactively decided, again, way after business hours in British time, that I and others were banned. I have asked them to give me specific examples so that I can apologize if I hurt people with my words, because I understand, I was heated. As of filming, I have yet to hear a response. If I do hear a response, Editing Diana is going to pop up. But yeah. And again, Illumicrate has still not apologized or admitted that they fucked up.
Hey everyone, Editing Diana here. I wanted to provide some clarification on the Discord issue because I realized as I was editing and as I was getting some feedback from some friends that I could make it a little clearer. So the Illumicrate Discord is the official Illumicrate Discord. This is not something run by fans for speculation or for selling books so you don't have to waste a skip. This is officially Illumicrate's server, which in my opinion means that it is part of the broader Illumicrate communication strategy. There are staff members in the Discord, most notably Caitlin, the Chief Operating Officer / Head of Communications, but there are other members of the staff who are present in the Discord, including Daphne, the owner of Illumicrate. Most of the mods, however, are volunteers, and there's a whole separate segment or video about a company relying on unpaid labor to moderate a space, but I don't have time for that right now, and that's not the point of this video. So when I was talking about a failure of moderation, I was speaking about the fact that several of the unpaid the volunteer mods were openly doing positive emoji reacts for folks who were excited about Rose in Chains, as well as those who were fighting folks who were upset about Illumicrate's decision, which in my opinion does show clear bias. I will also note that with the update channel, it was shut down. When they reopened it on Wednesday, April 23rd, they basically silenced all discussion around Rose in Chains. They're like, no typing, only buy, essentially. Yeah, so there was that. And that was when they announced their new moderation system, which should have been in place beforehand, which is the comment will be deleted. The server member who posted the comment will receive a warning, and if this warning is not respected, they will receive a timeout for 24 hours. If the same member continues to post on this topic, they will be banned from the server for repeatedly breaking Rule 4, which states that moderator decisions should be respected. I would like to note that they did not follow this procedure for myself or for the others who were banned. And finally, circling back to Rule 13, because it is something that I mentioned, Rule 13 is part of their long list of rules, and it's just this. This is a Harry Potter and J.K. Rowling free space. Please do not discuss either in any capacity or context. So again, you can imagine our confusion when they not only announced Rose in Chains as a special edition, but specifically chose artists who are popular in that specific fandom. All right, enough with the cats. Back to past Diana.
So why is this a massive fuck up and betrayal of the community? I am so glad you asked. These books, so there are 3 books that are being talked about as, Harry Potter fanfic writers taking off. There's Rose in Chains by Julie Soto, The Irresistible Urge to Fall for Your Enemy by Brigitte Knightley, and Alchemized by Senlin Yu. Both Rose in Chains and Alchemized are reworked versions of original fics. Alchemized, it's Manacled. And Manacled, I think, is what really started this trend, because Senlin Yu pulled Manacled down for traditional publishing due to the fact that they were worried about their IP. People were illegally selling fan bindings, and there was a mess going on because people in that fandom do not respect fandom etiquette. So they pulled the fic down. There was an announcement in February 2024 that Alchemized was bought by Del Rey. In May 2024, we got the announcement of Rose in Chains. So I can only assume that Julie Soto and her agent saw what was going on with Alchemized and Senlin Yu and decided, hey, we want the money. I don't know the timeline off the top of my head with Brigitte Knightley, but her agent Thao Lee is a serial signer of fanfic writers, so I'm just assuming that she might have also seen what was going on with Alchemized and was like, I need to get on that. I need to add to my stable of fanfic writers. I can't just have Raylos.
Hi, editing Diana here. You're getting Leia because I don't want to be perceived right now, and I have a feeling I'm going to be doing other interludes where I might need to be perceived. But I was checking the dates for Irresistible Urge to Fall for Your Enemy, and the announcement for that was March 24th. or 2024. So it is conceivable, at least how I understand publishing, is that Alchemized was being shopped around and other publishing houses wanted in on that. And Thali had already signed Brigitte Knightley. And so that is my theory about the announcement and kind of why we're getting 3 Draco Hermione books in a year. So yeah, I just wanted to add that context.
So that's kind of the rough timeline of how these were created. So again, why is this problematic? So Illumicrate keeps stating that, we're treating these as separate works, that, these aren't really Harry Potter. And unfortunately, the publishers don't agree. So if you had seen kind of this Draco Hermione mess in the previous weeks, it's because on Idolize, which is kind of like NetGalley, but mostly directed at booksellers, librarians. It's a way that publishers will talk about their upcoming releases. They have flyers for kind of their big books of the season, and they have key selling points. So on Tuesday, before Caitlin said to stop typing, on Tuesday, April 22nd, a bookseller in the Illumicrate Discord had said, Illumicrate is saying that these are separate works, but unfortunately the publishers are really pushing the Draco Hermione aspect like it is everywhere. And so I was curious and went to Idolize to look around, and boy, howdy, this bookseller was not kidding. So for both Rose and Chains and Irresistible Urge, there was heavy focus on the fanfiction Draco Hermione aspect. Not so much with Alchemized, and my theory for that is that Alchemized publisher Del Rey has a lot of experience with licensed fiction and kind of understands, or at least their editors and public and marketing folks have a better understanding of what they can get away with in terms of trademarks. And I'll talk a little bit about their key selling points. But with Rose and Chains, and I'm going to put the flyer on the screen, romantasy meets an obsessed fandom. Rose and Change is inspired by Julie Soto's popular Hermione fanfic, The Auction. It gives the TikTok views, it gives the AO3 reads, it has a picture on the cover, which that is Emma Watson and Tom Felton on the cover. It has fans even created their own books highlighting the fan bitings, and then popular fanfic, big buzzy books, and it highlights The Love Hypothesis, which is a former Reylo fic, The Hurricane Wars, which is another former Reylo fic, and Alchemized, which is Manacled. Then in the key selling points, so these are kind of why booksellers might be interested in this book, it says, popular TikTok and fanfic author. Fans of Soto's beloved Dramione, the love pairing of Hermione Granger and Draco Malfoy fanfic, The Auction, are clamoring for Rose and Chains. On TikTok, hashtag The Auction has 49 million views, and Julie's TikTok video announcement of the new book has 40,000 views. Rose and Chains already has 57 reviews on Goodreads and 5,000 want-to-reads. The Auction has almost 5,000 ratings on Goodreads and 11,000 wants-to-reads, which pretty explicitly tying this book to the fandom and the original fan fiction. Irresistible Urge to Fall for Your Enemies flyer is somehow almost worse, in my opinion. So this flyer, again, putting it on screen, what is Dramione? Dramione is the pairing of Draco Malfoy and Hermione Granger from the Harry Potter series. For those who may not know, Draco is one of the antagonists and Hermione is one of the 3 main characters of the series. Like with any fandom, people wonder, what if these 2 characters got together? And since Draco and Hermione are complete opposites, and because everyone loves a good enemies to lovers stories, naturally this was a fan favorite pairing. The emergence of Hermione skyrocketed within the fanfiction community, which led to several published adaptations, including the forthcoming Alchemized by Senlin Yu, adapted from Manacled, setting us up to break out Brigitte Knightley at just the right time. It then gives you a bunch of stats about Hermione Online. Again, the art for this is Not as explicitly Tom Felton and Emma Watson as Rose in Chains is, but again, it is very much the fanon interpretation of Hermione as a woman of color, which we will get back to, and the white boy fascist. And then in the key selling points for Irresistible Urge, we have debut novel for fanfic sensation author known online as Is This Self-Care? Brigitte's Harry Potter fanfic has nearly 3 million hits on AO3 and over 1 million views of her username on TikTok, making her one of the biggest stars in the Hermione fandom. All new and original. Though this will appeal to the fanfic audience with the Hermione coded lead characters, this is an original novel and not revised fanfic. Built-in fan base are already clamoring to read and purchase. After the cover reveal, Brigitte's Instagram following increased by nearly 5,000 to 4.1 thousand followers, and there were over 21,000 likes on her cover reveal post. So this is pretty much blowing out the water. Illumicrate's statement that these are separate works. The publishers are very specifically tying both Soto and Knightley's books to the fandom, to the fanfic. They're telling booksellers that this fandom is going to lead to more sales, that they should probably think about doing some kind of cross promotion. And I would not be shocked when either of these books comes out in the next couple of months. We see some like pretty ill-advised tables that put them close to Harry Potter. Like, I am calling it now. We are going to see that because, you know, how else are you going to market a children's series? So there's that. But then people are like, well, that's the publishers. That's not the authors. The authors didn't choose to do that. So about that. Roughly around the same time, I dug up these Idolize flyers. So the April 24th, 25th. I also decided to look at Knightley and Soto's Instagrams. And what do you know? I found memes talking about how this was going to be Hermione summer, playing on the Challenger scene where the two boys are kissing Zendaya, and it's Rose and Chance and Irresistible Urge kissing Hermione. So yeah, the authors are in on it. Really undercuts Illumicrate's argument that they are its own work. I also want to briefly talk about Illumicrate's art direction on this book. So if you look at the original cover, like I said, it's very clearly Emma Watson and Tom Felton. The Hermione character in this one is white. Illumicrate decided to play in to the fanon interpretation of Hermione as a woman of color and made her brown. So, you know, a book that involves the sexual slavery of the female character is now happening to a racially ambiguous brown woman to a fascist white man. Great optics there, Illumicrate. We also have reviews talking about how people are excited because of the original fan fictions. There is one review in particular of Rose in Chains that led to the reviewer going to watch the movies for the first time. And this is probably going to only increase. Going back to Manacled, Kira Lewis, who is an incredibly popular book talker, started reading and talking about the Harry Potter series because she wanted to read Manacled. And again, I would not be shocked if we start seeing more of this. All of this puts Harry Potter in the limelight. All of this helps support J.K. Rowling and the work that she's doing to push trans women in particular out of public life. We are already seeing the consequences of the UK Supreme Court ruling. In April, both the Scottish Football Association and the English Football Association announced that they were banning trans women from all levels of competition. This isn't just, top flight soccer or football. It's kids games. It's high school games. There are no trans women who are playing soccer in Scotland, and there were 20 in England. And because of J.K. Rowling, because of the money and attention she's putting on these cases, they and other trans girls and women are denied opportunities to play soccer, among other things. There are other instances of them being pushed out of public life, but that, as a women's soccer fan, that kind of stood out to me. As of recording this on May 11th, Illumicrate has yet to apologize. Illumicrate has yet to admit that they fucked up the timing, that their announcement hurt people, that how they reacted in the server hurt people. I am lucky. I am a cis woman. I will never face trans misogyny. I will never face transphobia. But I have I have trans friends and family. And shit. The hatred that J.K. Rowling is funding is affecting them. Someone I knew left England because of the transphobia. Other people I know are worried that they will be affected, even if they are cis, because transphobia affects everyone. And Illumicrate has yet to acknowledge that their decision to announce a book heavily tied to this IP on the day that the UK Supreme Court made this announcement caused hurt, caused harm, speaks to me of a larger problem within the company. It speaks to me as the company either lost its way or never really held the values that it professed in the first place. Illumicrate set itself apart from other book box companies by saying, we support the queer community. We support the trans community. And yet we're not seeing that. Of the books they've announced through June 2025, there's been only one queer book. At this point, there's no trans authors included in the 2025 lineup for Illumicrate. And if people are saying, oh, well, in Evernight, they're doing Andrew James, oh, wait, that's their horror sub, that's not the main sub. And I said at the beginning, I'm only focusing on the main sub. I want to give grace and not believe the worst of people. But unfortunately, Illumicrate's actions or lack of actions have just led me to believe that they don't give a shit, that they don't think they did anything wrong, that it's fine to sacrifice the values that they professed they had back in 2020 when they said they were no longer including Harry Potter related merch in their boxes. That they were fine sacrificing that to jump on a publishing trend. And if that's the case, I wish they would have been fucking honest from the start. Because Fairy Loot, one of the other boxes, is also doing Rose and Chains. And Jess Owens talked about how they're promoting this book. I'll link to her video below because she talks a little bit more about kind of the fanfic aspect of it. But it's also disappointing that Fairy Loot is doing it, and the fact that they are once again bearing the fact they are doing a Master Slave book. But I never expected anything different from Fairy Loot. I knew that Fairy Loot was always out to get money, that they would just do whatever they needed to create special editions that would appeal to the broadest possible audience. Which is why it hurts so fucking bad that Illumicrate did this. I'm not calling for a boycott of Illumicrate. If you still want to support them, that's fine. But I want you to contact them, support@illumicrate.com. Please be nice to them. And if you're also disappointed by their decision to platform Rose in Chains, if you're disappointed by the fact that they are silencing dissent, that they are ignoring the harm that they did and just trying to keep on keeping on, please let them know politely, because they need to know that what they did was unacceptable. They need to know that it's a betrayal of the community, that they can't say they care for trans people yet do this shit. So anyway, apologies if this ending is a little rambly. Apologies if this video is a little rambly. I'll link to a couple of pieces down below. Like I said, I'll link to Jess Owen's piece. Tori Lowe's HEA also did a breakdown of the marketing. And there's a video reviewing Rose in Chains and talking about how similar it is to the original story. As a side note, I do want to say that a lot of the Dramione related content has been removed from both Idlewise and the author's Instagrams after the initial blow up on Threads and Blue Sky. I think either someone from their legal department finally saw that they were either doing a trademark infringement or very fucking close to that, or the authors just didn't want the blowback, and they just silently deleted it. Neither Julie Soto nor Brigitte Knightley have made a statement about what happened in the UK. They are linking to fundraisers, but at this point, like, you need to fucking say something. You can't just silently fundraise. You have to make a statement. And until then, it's very clear that they are fine profiting off of Harry Potter as long as it suits them, and it's a black mark on them. It shows that any claims of allyship they have is bullshit. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. We'll see if editing Diana has to break in to clarify or give updates, but yeah. I should have a regular video going up soon-ish, maybe. Yeah, thank you all so much for watching, and fuck J.K. Rowling. Bye.